Have you ever felt the profound, almost visceral pull to simply vanish? To step away from a dynamic, a relationship, a presence that has perhaps consumed more of your essence than it has nourished? This is not a fleeting thought born of anger or frustration. It is a deeper, quieter summons from the very core of your being, a cellular knowing that something must end for you to begin again. When you choose to disappear from someone's life, you don't merely create a physical void. You initiate a profound, often unsettling, psychological rupture within their very being. It's not just an absence, it's an archetypal confrontation, a seismic shift that forces them to meet a part of themselves they have perhaps diligently avoided for far too long. Carl Jung, the profound cartographer of the human soul, understood this intimately. He called this the encounter with the shadow, a moment when the unconscious, the vast unseen territory of the psyche, demands to be seen, to be integrated. Your disappearance becomes the catalyst for this encounter. The comfortable, predictable landscape of his inner world is suddenly thrown into disarray. The mirror you once held up to him, reflecting back the image he wanted to see, is suddenly gone. And in its place, there is only the stark, unadorned reflection of himself, with all his unhealed wounds, his unspoken fears, and his unintegrated parts. Consider the sensation in your own body when you contemplate such a disappearance. Is there a tremor of fear, a surge of liberation, a quiet sense of reclaiming lost territory? This isn't a simple act. It's a profound, energetic statement. The space you once occupied, the energy you once contributed, suddenly becomes an emotional vacuum. And this vacuum acts like a mirror, stripped of its reflection. He can no longer see himself through your eyes, through your validation, through the narrative you helped to co-create. This destabilizes his inner world, his carefully constructed sense of self, forcing him into an uncomfortable yet potentially transformative confrontation with his own internal landscape. Modern neuroscience offers a compelling explanation for this unsettling phenomenon. Dr. Joe Dispenza's extensive research on neuroplasticity illuminates how deeply our brains become wired to the presence of others, particularly those with whom we share significant emotional bonds. A sudden, profound emotional loss, such as your disappearance, doesn't just cause sadness, it literally rewires brain pathways. It can trigger a cascade of survival mode behaviors, anxiety, anger, obsessive thoughts, a desperate need for control, before any genuine self-reflection can even begin to emerge. It's a primal scream from a system that has lost its familiar anchor, its predictable pattern. This is precisely why disappearance, a quiet, unannounced withdrawal, can be far more powerful, far more penetrating than any direct confrontation, any spoken argument, any attempt to explain or justify. An unexpected silence bypasses the logical, defensive mind, circumventing the usual arguments and rationalizations. It goes straight to the subconscious, to the limbic system, where old attachment wounds reside, where primal fears of abandonment and unworthiness lie dormant. It's a direct hit to the emotional core, leaving no room for intellectual debate, only raw, unmediated feeling. Think of it through a sensory analogy. Imagine a constant, almost imperceptible background hum in a room, the gentle whir of a refrigerator, the distant murmur of traffic, the soft ticking of a clock. You don't consciously notice it until it suddenly stops, and then the silence becomes deafening. It's not just the absence of sound, it's the profound, unsettling presence of its absence. Your disappearance creates this kind of silence in his life, a void that screams your presence, forcing him to confront the unspoken, the unacknowledged, the parts of himself that were only visible in your reflection. This journey into his reaction is not about revenge or manipulation. It is about understanding the profound psychological and neurological impact of your absence, and in doing so, reclaiming your own power, your own narrative. It is about recognizing that your departure is not an ending, but a catalyst, a powerful alchemical force that will inevitably transform his inner world, whether he is ready for it or not. When you vanish, you don't just leave a physical space. You trigger a profound archetypal awakening within the psyche of the one left behind. Carl Jung's profound insight into the anima for men and animus for women reveals how your absence can become a powerful catalyst, awakening either a deep, aching longing or a fierce, often irrational resentment. The specific reaction depends entirely on how integrated that inner archetype is within their own being. For a man, the anima is his inner feminine, the unconscious representation of his soul, his emotional life, his capacity for connection and intuition. If his anima is underdeveloped, projected onto external women or repressed, your sudden disappearance can feel like a violent amputation of a vital part of himself. He may have unconsciously relied on you to carry his emotional world, to be the container for his feelings, to provide the missing pieces of his own inner feminine. When that external container is removed, he is left exposed, vulnerable, and often deeply disoriented. Consider the real-life example of a man who, after a woman he had taken for granted quietly exited his life, suddenly became consumed by her absence. This wasn't necessarily a surge of romantic love, as many might assume. Instead, it was a profound, almost obsessive preoccupation. He found himself constantly thinking of her, replaying conversations, searching for her online, even contacting mutual acquaintances. But upon deeper psychological examination, it became clear that she symbolized a part of his soul he had never claimed, his own capacity for emotional depth, for vulnerability, for authentic connection. Her presence had allowed him to avoid this inner work, and her absence now forced him into a confrontation with his own emotional barrenness. He wasn't longing for her as much as he was longing for the part of himself that she had unconsciously carried. This resurfacing, this sudden, intense focus on your absence, is often tragically mistaken for love, for a profound realization of your value. But be warned, more often than not, it is a projection collapsing. He is not seeing you. He is seeing the void where his own unintegrated anima used to be. He is grappling with the sudden, painful awareness of his own internal emptiness, his own emotional immaturity, his own unfulfilled potential for wholeness. Your departure has shattered the illusion that he was complete without acknowledging his inner world, and now the pieces of his own psyche are demanding his attention. Beyond the archetypal shifts that stir in the soul, there's a powerful, almost primal, neuroscientific reality at play when you disappear: the dopamine withdrawal effect. The human brain, in its relentless pursuit of pleasure and reward, becomes chemically conditioned to the presence of a person, much like it becomes conditioned to an addictive substance. Every interaction, every text, every shared moment releases tiny bursts of dopamine, creating a reward pathway that reinforces the desire for more. You become, in a very real sense, a source of his neurochemical equilibrium. When that source is suddenly removed, when your presence is no longer a predictable part of his daily neurochemical landscape, his brain's reward prediction error system activates. This isn't a gentle adjustment, it's a shock to the system. His brain, accustomed to the consistent dopamine hits associated with you, now registers a profound deficit. This deficit creates a powerful, often uncomfortable, craving, a desperate need to re-establish the familiar neurochemical balance. This is why his mind may race more after you're gone, why he may become consumed by obsessive thought loops, why he may feel an intense, almost physical pull towards you, not necessarily out of love, but out of a deep, unconscious neurochemical dependency. Think of it like this: his brain has built a neural pathway, a superhighway, that leads directly to you for a specific kind of reward. When that highway is suddenly closed, his brain doesn't just give up. It frantically searches for alternative routes, for ways to get that reward back. This can manifest as constant checking of his phone, replaying memories, seeking information about you from others, or even creating elaborate fantasies of your return. This isn't a sign of profound love. It's a sign of a system in withdrawal, desperately trying to re-establish its equilibrium. It's the brain's primal response to a perceived loss of a vital resource. This understanding is crucial for your own peace. When you witness these reactions, whether directly or indirectly, remember that they are often a reflection of his internal neurochemical struggle not necessarily a genuine shift in his emotional landscape towards you. It's a biological imperative, a brain seeking its accustomed fix. In the grand narrative of relationships, we are often told that closure is a necessary, almost sacred endpoint, a neat bow tied around the complexities of human connection. We are taught to seek it, to demand it, to believe that without it, healing is impossible. Yet when you disappear, you challenge this very notion, revealing a profound truth. Contrary to popular belief, disappearing doesn't necessarily provide closure to either side. Instead, it opens an unresolved symbolic door within the psyche, a gateway to deeper, often uncomfortable internal work. From Carl Jung's perspective, the psyche often resists true, definitive endings. It abhors a vacuum, and in the absence of explicit closure, it will relentlessly seek symbolic completion. This means that even in the profound absence of contact, the mind will continue to process, to interpret, to create narratives, often filling in the blanks with projections, fears, and unfulfilled desires. Your disappearance doesn't end the story. It merely shifts the stage to his inner world, where the drama of unresolved emotions continues to play out. Think of it as an unfinished symphony. The music stops abruptly, but the melody continues to echo in the listener's mind, seeking its resolution. Your absence becomes that echoing melody, a persistent question mark that demands an answer from within him. It is crucial to understand that his search for you, whether in memory, through online stalking, or by contacting mutual friends, is not always or even primarily about genuine reconnection. More often, it is an unconscious attempt to repair his self-image, to restore his sense of control, to find the missing pieces of his own narrative that your absence has shattered. He may be seeking to confirm his own worth, to understand why he was left, or to simply regain a sense of predictability in a world that suddenly feels unpredictable. His pursuit is often a reflection of his own internal disequilibrium, not necessarily a testament to his love or longing for you. This understanding liberates you from the burden of providing closure. Your disappearance, in its very nature, forces him to confront his own internal resources, or lack thereof. It shifts the responsibility for emotional processing back to him, where it rightfully belongs. Your role is not to provide answers, but to embody the question, a question that only he can truly answer through his own journey of self-discovery. In a world saturated with noise, with constant communication, with the relentless demand for words, there exists a profound, almost mystical power in silence. From a vibrational perspective, your silence can carry a stronger emotional imprint, a more potent energetic charge than any spoken word, any direct confrontation, any carefully crafted argument. Your absence, your chosen silence, becomes a resonant frequency that bypasses his conscious mind and penetrates directly into the subconscious, where true transformation begins. When you remove your voice, your presence, your input, you force his mind to fill in the blanks. And what does the mind fill those blanks with? Often with its own projections, its own fears, its own fantasies. Your silence becomes a canvas upon which he paints his own internal landscape, his insecurities, his regrets, his unacknowledged feelings. He can no longer rely on your words to define the situation. He must confront his own internal narrative, his own interpretation of your absence. Consider this analogy. It's like leaving an unfinished sentence in someone's diary. They'll mentally keep writing it over and over, trying to find the right words, the correct ending, the missing piece. Your disappearance is that unfinished sentence. His mind will be compelled to complete it, to find meaning in your absence, to grapple with the questions your silence poses. This internal dialogue, this relentless mental activity, is far more potent than any argument you could have presented because it is generated from within him, not imposed from without. This is the profound power of your energetic withdrawal. You are not just physically gone, you are energetically absent. You are no longer providing the emotional sustenance, the validation, the familiar dynamic that his system had become accustomed to. This creates a void, a hunger, that only he can truly address. Your silence becomes a catalyst for his own internal work, forcing him to confront his own patterns, his own dependencies, his own shadow. This understanding allows you to hold your silence with grace and power. It is not a passive act, it is an active, conscious choice to allow the natural consequences of your absence to unfold. It is a trust in the profound wisdom of the universe, a knowing that sometimes the most powerful message is delivered not through words, but through the eloquent, undeniable language of absence. Your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting back to him the truth of his own inner world. While your disappearance creates a profound impact on him, it is equally, if not more, a sacred opening for you. For too long, the narrative has been centered on his reaction, his longing, his pain. But this was never truly about him. It was always about you. This isn't merely about his reaction, it's about your own profound journey of rebirth. Using Carl Jung's concept of individuation, the moment you consciously choose to step away from a dynamic that no longer serves your highest good is precisely the moment you can begin to reclaim the precious parts of yourself that may have been lost, fragmented, or suppressed within that relationship. It is a powerful act of self-reclamation, a courageous step towards becoming your most authentic, whole self. Think of it as the rewilding of a soul. For years, your inner world might have been a carefully manicured garden, cultivated to please the tastes of another. You planted the flowers he liked, you trimmed the hedges to fit his expectations, you kept the wild, unpredictable parts of yourself neatly contained. When you walk away, the gardener is gone. At first, this new, untended space can feel terrifying. It looks like neglect. The weeds of your past, the loneliness, the self-doubt, the grief, seem to take over everything. This is the initial disorientation, and many women, frightened by this inner chaos, rush back to any form of familiar gardening, no matter how unfulfilling. But if you stay, if you hold the discomfort of the emptiness, the second phase begins. The first shoots. The native seeds of your soul, which have been lying dormant under the compacted soil, begin to sprout. It's a sudden urge to paint, a forgotten song that comes back to you, a call to an old friend, an unexplainable need to walk in the forest. These are the first signs of authentic life returning. You are not forcing them. They are emerging because there is finally space, sunlight, and silence for them to grow. Your absence from his life creates space in yours. This space is not empty, it is pregnant with possibility. It is an invitation to reconnect with your passions, your forgotten dreams, your authentic desires. This is the true rebirth effect, a transformation that happens from the inside out, independent of his reaction, independent of his presence. Joe Dispenza's work on neuroplasticity teaches us that we can consciously rewire our brains. Your brain has built neurological loops around the old patterns of seeking his attention and validation. Now it's time to replace those loops with intentional rituals that anchor you in your new identity, the woman who is whole, sovereign, and deeply connected to her inner wisdom. This isn't about forcing a change, it's about consistently choosing new thoughts, new feelings, new actions that align with your desired self. Each morning upon waking, instead of reaching for your phone to check for a message that may or may not be there, place your hand over your heart. Take 3 deep breaths and affirm, "I am whole, I am sovereign, my worth is inherent." Throughout the day, whenever you feel the old urge to chase or to check, pause, take a conscious breath, redirect your energy to a simple, nourishing ritual. Sip a glass of water mindfully, stretch your body, listen to a favorite song, or simply gaze out a window for a moment, returning to your own presence. These small, consistent acts, repeated daily, will gradually build new neural pathways, reinforcing your new identity and anchoring you in your newfound freedom. This is your active participation in your own rebirth. Your disappearance, then, is not merely a personal choice. It is a silent yet profoundly powerful archetypal shift. It is a symbolic death in the other's psyche, forcing them to reorient their inner map, to confront the landscape of their own being without your guiding presence. It is a catalyst for their own encounter with the shadow, a mirror held up to their unintegrated parts. This archetypal shift is the universe's way of demanding a reckoning, a profound and necessary confrontation with the self. It is a quiet demolition of the carefully constructed illusions they have lived within, illusions that your presence, however unconsciously, helped to uphold. In this symbolic death, there is a painful but sacred invitation for them to find a new way to live, to feel, to be, without you as their emotional anchor. Through Neville Goddard's lens, your absence becomes your stage to imagine and inhabit a self who no longer defines her worth through someone else's gaze. It is a powerful act of creation, a conscious decision to embody the woman you are becoming, independent of external validation. You are not waiting to be chosen. You are choosing yourself, creating your reality from within. This is the profound magic of your disappearance. As his world is being reoriented, yours is being consciously created. You are turning your attention, your energy, and your creative imagination inward, cultivating a sense of self that is so complete, so radiant, so deeply rooted, that the need for external reflection simply dissolves. You are becoming the source of your own light, the architect of your own peace. The real transformation, the profound alchemy, is not found in his reaction, whether he responds with longing, anger, or indifference. These are secondary. What truly matters is that your absence becomes fertile soil for your own individuation, for your own profound growth. It is an invitation to cultivate your inner garden, to nurture your own spirit, to become the radiant, self-sufficient being you were always meant to be. This is the ultimate purpose of your journey, to use the space created by your absence to become your most authentic self. A woman who is so deeply present in her own life that she no longer needs to be a supporting character in someone else's. And so we conclude with a final poignant metaphor. You are the lighthouse that for a time turned off its light. Not out of cruelty, not out of malice, but to remind the ships that they were meant to learn to navigate the dark on their own, to find their own internal compass. Your light, now turned inward, illuminates your own path, and in doing so, teaches others the profound lesson of self-reliance. Your solitude is not your weakness. It is your sacred sanctuary. And from this profound sanctuary, all true authentic connection gracefully flows. So as we come to a close, let the story of his reaction fade into the background. It is but a fading echo. Bring your focus here, to this present moment, to the quiet strength in your hands, to the steady rhythm of your own breathing, to the vast, open future you have cleared for yourself with your courage. And so the final most important question is not how he will react now that you are gone, but who will you become in the magnificent, sacred silence you have finally, bravely claimed for yourself.